When I reach 1000 subscribers I will be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card away. To enter, like, subscribe and leave a comment below. Posted by u/the_og_Bigfoot. Ride along, one law at a time. So where I live, the sheriff's department offers policing services to small towns that can't afford the full setup of their own PDs. However, these aren't rural towns, they are basically urban sprawl from the biggest city in my state. They also offer ride-alongs in any of the unincorporated areas or in these small towns. I chose to do my ride-along in one of these towns that is pretty affluent and not really known for any crime, which was fine by me as I wanted to get a feel for what normal police work is like. So I get to the station and take the orientation and we head off. Now of course I was assured that nothing ever happens and I was going to be bored the whole time. The deputy I was supposed to ride with was in a meeting, so I rode with a sergeant for about an hour and nothing really happened. My original deputy got out of his meeting and I got in with him, and that's when the fun started. Almost immediately we get a call for a fight in progress at a bar. Well, we get there and the bartender tells us the two guys left, so we spent about 10 minutes looking for them. We come to a stoplight and watch a truck almost T-bone a dude turning left on yellow flashing. We pull both over because the oncoming truck was obviously speeding. Unfortunately we didn't clock him on radar. We get done there and head out to a freeway with a 65 miles per hour limit. We get to just about the end of the sheriff's jurisdiction when a dude in a VW comes hauling past us at 86. We flip around and initiate on him, and of course he pulls over right in the middle of a blind corner. The deputy hops out and runs up to the guy and grabs his license and tells him to move to a parking lot just up the road. So he pulls in with us behind him, and before we can even talk to this guy we notice 3 things. His license is out of state and expired, his registration is expired, the car isn't registered to him. So the deputy goes up and makes contact with this guy, and he has no excuse for speeding and won't say what he's in the state for. He claims it's his car, but registered to his girlfriend. Of course we can't prove that. We run his name and find 2 warrants totaling about $180,000, both for trafficking. The guy had a pilot's license, so we figured he was running drugs in a plane and selling to an undercover. He had no clue he even had a warrant, so we octuple checked via both the CAD and dispatch, and they were definitely real. So obviously this guy's going to jail, so they cuff him and put him in the back of the cruiser. While I'm chatting with the guy, he was perfectly cordial and nice the whole time. He was just dumbfounded that he had warrants. The deputies are searching his car, and of course they find a baggie, less than a 1/4 ounce, of weed. So we get all the tickets written up, 4 total, and head off to the jail. The deputies were nice enough to just park his car in the lot and not tow it. We get him booked in and head to the evidence locker. Obviously the marijuana kid tested positive, so we wrote an infraction for that. Not my opinion on weed, but the law's the law. All told, the dude was probably looking at around $1,000 in tickets/infractions, and if his license wasn't already expired I'm sure he would have lost it. After that we had dinner, Mexican, and started to head back to the station when the neighboring city called in a pursuit on a guy with a felony warrant. We start heading toward them, and it's basically in my backyard, so I was giving the deputy shortcuts on how to get there. Unfortunately the pursuit was wrapped up by the time we got there, so we head back to the station and start writing up reports. The whole night the deputy was absurdly gleeful and saying he was so happy because usually nothing ever happens on ride-alongs. So moral of the story is don't speed when your everything is expired and you have 2 warrants, and ride-along are absurdly fun. Posted by u/2 blue zebras. State trooper, it's not illegal to be an asshole, but it sure won't help. I was called to a rollover crash with an air ambulance responding at the edge of the city limits. I arrived to a Toyota Corolla that was completely demolished, with firefighters ripping the car open to get the driver out. Fortunately, it was only the Corolla involved, and all he hit was a curb and the ground. His injuries weren't life-threatening, and he got an ambulance ride to the hospital. Before he was loaded up, one of the firefighters let me know he smelled like alcohol. Another trooper arrived on scene and cleared the scene for me as I followed the ambulance to the hospital. I spoke to the driver, and he was clearly drunk. I asked him what happened that caused him to crash, and he decided he wanted to play dumb. What crash? The one you were just in. I wasn't in a crash. Where were you coming from? I wasn't coming from anywhere. Anything to drink today? No, nothing. Where were you driving to? I wasn't in a car. We just pulled you out of the Corolla. Corolla? There's no Corolla. Okay, you're under arrest for DUI. How can I be arrested for DUI when I wasn't driving? You were the only person in the car, and we had to cut the roof of the car off to get you out. No way, man. I wasn't in any car. You're required to take a blood test. How can I be arrested for DUI when I wasn't driving? I did a blood draw. Doctors confirmed he had no head trauma, just some major muscle damage to some extremities. He went to jail. All of that would have happened regardless of how he behaved. The next part is why it pays not to be an asshole. The other trooper on scene took photographs of the demolished car. We use it to reference damage in the report, account for impact locations, and ensure accuracy. Absent serious injury to an innocent person or death, we delete the pictures. The chain of custody of booking them into evidence and providing them to the collision investigation guys makes it not worth the effort to keep them. Except in this case. I submitted my report and went to the evidence trooper to book the photographs. He said, "Oh, who died? What is that? That looks like a lot of work for me." No, not really. Just a drunk driving arsehole whose attitude made me want to work extra hard to get him convicted. I figure if it went to a jury, photographs of his destroyed car would help show the seriousness of the crime. Oh, alright then. Hell yeah. Fuck that guy. For those interested, he was 3x the legal limit. He took a plea deal. Posted by u/2 blue zebras. State trooper, you're not a victim if you're the one breaking the law. I was called to a hit and run crash, pickup truck versus a car, but both drivers were on scene. The person who called it in said the crash happened at X, and they were at Y, about 1/4 mile away. Usually, if both people are at the same place, it's not a hit and run. Sometimes a victim will chase a suspect, but it's pretty rare, and determined people will get away. While heading to the scene, a passing motorist called to report that two people were out of their cars and yelling at each other. I found a debris field at X and figured that was where the crash happened. I located the involved parties pulled over a little bit down the road. I got the sedan driver's story first. I was driving behind this truck and I was running late, so I was a little impatient, so I went to pass him over the double yellow lines. I know it's illegal, but I was in a hurry. As I was just about past him, he swerved from his lane into the oncoming lane to keep me from passing, and then we hit. After that, I tried to pull over, expecting him to pull over so we could exchange information. But he didn't. So I had to catch up to him, pass him again, and gradually slow down until he finally stopped. And you can see we are well beyond where the crash happened, and he was trying to get away and needs to be charged with hit and run. At least she was being honest about her terrible driving. Okay, truck driver's turn. I was driving down the road, doing the speed limit, with this lady tailgating me. It was pretty obvious she wanted to go faster. I wasn't paying attention to her and was going my own speed. All of a sudden, I saw her on my left, illegally passing me over the yellow lines. When she cut back into the lane, she cut it too close and clipped the front of my truck. 1 second she was behind me, the next she was next to me. I didn't have time to swerve, even if I wanted to. Then she started slowing down in front of me, and I thought she was trying to box me in. So when she pulled over I kept going. She then cut in front of me again, and I didn't want anything to do with her because she seemed out of control. She stopped in front of my truck, so I had to stop. Then she said she called the police, so I waited for you to show up. We are not calling that a hit and run. Guy in truck trying to get away from crazy driver who ran into him. Lady in sedan trying to stop truck in a crash she caused. It gets better. I had a voicemail waiting for me the next day when I came into work from the sedan driver's husband. I called him back, and he seemed upset, which is odd, since he wasn't there, and I never mentioned anything about fault on scene. So I asked him, "Sir, what did your wife tell you happened?" She said she was stopped at a red light when she suddenly got hit from behind by the guy in the truck. Then the truck driver sped off down the road and she had to go chase him down to get him to stop after she was rear-ended. So I want to know why there's no report and why this guy isn't getting charged with hit and run and going to jail. I explained the actual events and how what he heard happened was not at all what was stated on scene. I also explained that a report was taken and he might want to talk to his wife about it again and see if her story is different. The lady who called it in was found at fault. Posted by u/screeching fruit bats. Suspect went for a hike and was swarmed by state troopers who thought I was up to no good. Also posted this on r/Tifu. A couple years ago, my BF and I took a weekend trip to the beautiful Adirondack Mountains in New York so that I could shoot some photos for a job. I also brought 4 dozen yellow smoke balls to try out an idea I had for a photo, but they were too small and didn't smoke long enough for it to work. So after going through about half, we gave up. I was shooting large format Polaroids and the smoke looked like nothing. We'd also done some nice hiking in our usual areas, but on our way home, we decided to find a trailhead in a new spot and take a long hike. We had just passed Blue Mountain Lake a few miles back and were keeping an eye out for a trailhead. We quickly come to a turnoff with a sign that says something like public use area and mentioned a conservation easement. I didn't know what that meant, but the words public and conservation were included, so I wanted to check it out. So we pulled in and there was no parking area up by the road, so we kept driving down the very rocky, increasingly narrow road. We drove about a half mile and came to a big flat area off the side that looked like a construction zone with huge piles of dirt and stone. It became obvious that this was very wrong. So we took advantage of the white space by turning around to head back. At this point, we'd pretty much decided we would just head home, since we had a long drive ahead of us to Long Island. As we're turning, a state trooper pulls out into the clearing, pulls right up next to me, and motions for me to roll down the window. He asks what we are doing there, and I explain what happened. He seemed a little unconvinced and told us that we had just passed a trailhead probably 15 miles back around Blue Mountain Lake. We thank him and head back toward the road. Of course he follows us out, so to not look suspicious, we turn back toward the lake, even though we had pretty much already decided not to pursue a hike anymore. To our pleasant surprise, after just a mile or two we come to a trailhead for the Northville Placid Trail and pull in. As we had hoped, the trooper continued down the road, so we knew we were fine to leave if we wanted to without looking sketchy. We decided to check it out quickly and see if there were any good photo opportunities. So we started down the trail without the camera first, since it's huge and heavy. We didn't walk very long before we found a really beautiful spot. So I decided to take a portrait of my BF. We started on our way back to the car, and as we were coming up a hill and around the last bend in the trail before the parking area, I joked that the trooper would be waiting for us. That's when we came around the bend to see my car surrounded by 5 troopers' cars with more speeding into the lot and joining them. FML. They are surrounding my car. They're peering through all the windows, subtlety passing along what they see to the other officers, and now they're coming toward us. Hi, I say. Is this your car? Yes. What happened? We are here doing routine checks. Yeah, right. And we'd like to ask you a few questions. I know I haven't done anything wrong. So I open my trunk and start pulling out my camera and tripod. So what are you guys doing out here today? Just going for a hike? Or are you camping? We are actually just taking a short walk before we head home and decided to come back for my camera so I can take some photos. At this point they are starting to gather around because they are pretty curious about my camera 4x5. So we are wondering, what do you have on the floor in the front here? He motions to the passenger side and I'm completely puzzled. BF. Oh. Looks at me. I bet they mean the smoke balls. OMG. The empty bags from the smoke balls. We had collected the used ones, I hate litter, and thrown them in a shopping bag in the back seat, but my BF had put the empty clear plastic packaging that they came in up front on the floor at his feet. They were yellow colored and left a yellow/brown powder in the packaging. This is what the police found so suspicious. IDK what they thought it was, but you have to understand, I've never used or dealt any type of drug. or done anything else wrong, so I panicked. I was shaking so hard at this point. Talking about a mile a minute, I explained the smoke balls, the failed photo attempts, the search for a hiking trail, everything. I pulled out the bag of used smoke balls and the 2 unopened bags. Then we remembered the Polaroids we shot. We grabbed those out of the glove box and showed them. I handed the bag of yellow powder to one of the officers. He smells it and hands it to another officer. What's that smell like to you? Other officer smells its offer. At this point, they start making fun of the officer with whom we'd had our original encounter and then had clearly called the rest of them for backup. After some more questions, just out of curiosity about the camera, they say goodbye and go on their way. TLDR, wrong turn. While looking for a hiking trail made a state trooper suspicious of us, so while we were hiking, he called for backup after seeing a suspicious bag of yellow/brown powder in the front passenger seat. It was residue from smoke balls. When I reach 1,000 subscribers, I will be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card away. To enter, like, subscribe and leave a comment below.